I would like to connect this with Anders. So these are my 4 things, and we have been working, me and Ivana, who is editorial at Read channel at Hyper, on this. The first one is hyperautomation. It's basically we think that in 2021 we will see a very, very quick adaptation of AI machine learning practices into and good use cases across departments and companies. And I think that this has been cooking for a long time, and it's basically an impact of what we said, like a process of experimentation to decade of industrialization. And this year has been very experimental for many organizations, and they have learned how to work on a skunk work type of environment when they are not together, but still they need to deploy. And I think that is super great. And it's basically, like you said, like they can transform very quickly. That is basically also the hyper automation across industries and across divisions and functions, I think. The second one, this is basically the implication of the first one. It's the deficit of talent and the word for talent. Because we have been getting quite a lot of calls from friends and companies and etc. to either find a talent or to recommend somebody, etc. And I believe this is going to be much more obvious, and it's something that we predicted as well last year, and I think we're going to see it throughout the decade, and that is training and repurposing of skill set, because the universities are not capable of producing those on the right way. So I will need to connect this on Atir, who was here, saying that basically research is all about money. I believe that talent is all about money, and we need to change in Sweden and in the Nordics. I don't know about the Nordics, but in Sweden we need to change the whole spectrum of how do we basically attract talent into this country. Everything from Socialdepartementet, Arbetsförmedlingen, and all of these social security numbers, it's very difficult for people right now to find places to stay or to get into this, working environment. And we are basically shooting ourselves in the foot if we don't attract this talent. I believe VASP is doing a great thing to attract talent so they can see that this is potential.
On the research point
yes,
side,
on the research, but we need to get more people in. And I think that people are hungry. And we as a Hyper, we will work on this in 2020.
But the talent management topic is bigger than only...
let me finish this so I can go. The other thing that we see right now, this is also in speaking with our contacts, is that actually AI is a service. We believe that there is enough evidence that the really good data scientists, machine learning engineers, and everybody else, they don't work for companies anymore. They're so okay, fine, but I do apologize. I will take that back. But there is a number of companies that are actually creating quite good consultancy companies that are actually capable of doing quite good jobs. So why would you, as a company, risk to develop something where there is a scarcity of talent, but there is something that you can deploy? This is also good for auto ML or auto AI type of things. So AI as a service, I mean, it's both for as a service and both as a product. And I truly believe in this, and I think that this is something that we're going to see more and more in future. So these are my top 3. Of course, AI ethics is there, but the AI ethics is not going to be solved until the GDPR is solved. So,
let me do my...
So these are my 3.
And if I do my top 3 like that, I think I already mentioned one, but let me be more to the point with it. I think we need to understand that whether we like it or not, we will end up in a couple of fundamental data and AI ecosystems: transport, public sector, life science, or patient, energy. And that fundamental data and AI ecosystem drives that whether we like it or not, we need to understand distributed systems. And we need to understand how to build machine learning models with closed data, as Anders put it. Because there's no, if I take the energy ecosystem, you have several companies like Vattenfall who owns network, and it's super secure data, and it's even NSI data, National Security Information data. And at the same time, we want to optimize the grid to balance volatility and of our voltage balancing, blah, blah, blah. So here we need to then share data between E.ON and Vattenfall, who is fierce competitors, together with the technical transmission service operator, TSO, Svenska Kraftnät, So energy ecosystem, very similar to data roaming in telco, right? So distributed platform thinking. And here I think then we are on a journey now. To do this, you need to be in cloud. And to do this, you need to have a combination of edge computing and edge analytics and IoT, or how you connect, and you need to think carefully where you do compute and stuff like this. So, but the fundamental driving factor is distributed systems based on ecosystem thinking, whether you like it or not.
Is this the same with federated?
Federated machine learning is one of the most important techniques. If you think the world looks like that, then federated machine learning, as an example, is how do I have privacy preserving AI, right? How do I do that? It becomes a key challenge. Okay, so that is one key trend that I think we will better and better. It becomes more and more clear. In Scania, this is clear. In Vattenfall, this is clear. In Grundfos, this is clear. In intelligent water. Yeah. So this is one of my key trends. The other key trend, which is sort of more on the technical side, but actually plays into the same game. Now we start using the words like data mesh. Yeah, this is a buzzword right now, but it really means how do I go from ingesting data and building monolithic central data systems or platforms to more distributed systems? How do I serve data between, if I have different data products? So it goes with the ecosystem thinking. I will have some domain data within Scania that needs to be served to other parts of Scania. If I go beyond, Scania has some data that needs to be served into the transport ecosystem. The data product thinking needs a mesh. How do we data interact with each other? And I even think that's the way you solve the public sector idea. How it's a distributed platform. That's the way you build it, and where you have central platform design patterns and then federated governance and stuff like this. So now I said distributed ecosystem. I used the word technology data mesh, and then the next key word I want to say, the third one, is federated governance. Okay. And federated governance mean how you have basically not only centralized, and we have a centralized way of thinking, and now everybody needs to do the same as me do, and I can dictate that, Tayloristic, or the opposite is extreme decentralization in silos, right? Yes. So this federated view, and if you take that the whole way, circle around, then community. How we work on standards and stuff like that. That was
obvious this year. I think that.
So that's where I think this is going.
That is good, actually. Collaboration, I will put as a 4.
Yeah, because if you are a participant in an ecosystem, how do you set the standards in that ecosystem, or how do you basically? Yeah, I don't think you start with the governing bodies. You're going to start with peer-to-peers in communities that do skunk work, and that leads into standardization bodies.
I think this is good. We're going to see more and more of this. I believe that it's the awakening of the enterprises. Yeah, let's call it like that. That is a T-shirt.
Awakening of the.
So you still owe us your 3 predictions for next year from technology point of view. NLP, something.
NLP,
what do you think?
See, Transformers will rule the world. Is this the year of the Transformer?
Yeah, attention is all you need.
Attention is a new T-shirt.
That's Google has already said that. That was a research paper in 2007.
But do they have a T-shirt?
No.
Let's.
I think it's okay. Good from many points of view.
Okay. Now we have first principle T-shirt. Now we have commit to deploy. Attention is all you need. Yeah. All right. That's a good T-shirt.
Just to come back a bit to what you said, Goran, as well, about talents and the need for that. And I certainly, of course, agree. But I think it can be expanded a bit. And for one, I think a company should have at least one or a few that are like super talents and truly understand in a deep way what AI is. Truly. But what the company really needs, I would say, is a broad understanding of AI or the basics of AI. Yes. So the people in the management team, the people in different departments throughout the company have an understanding of the extreme potential that do exist if you use data and AI properly. And I think that is something that's going to happen even more in 2021.
So increasement of data literacy amongst enterprise executives.
Yeah, so an increase in AI potential of non-AI experts? That was a bit convoluted, but
yeah. So yeah, I have a very good one about this. If you're an executive and you want to start learning about this, there are 2 courses that you should take. One is Elements of AI. I have personally taken it. It's only for, I know it's going to take you a couple of weeks, and it gives you the basics of AI, what it means. The second one is basically the leadership guide, leadership AI guide for. AI guide for enterprises that Peltarion did with a preface of Marcus Wallenberg in that, which I still use as a quote.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh, nice.
I think that is a very nice book because it gives also quite a good use cases.
But we use the data literacy topic to talk about you need to be literate in relevance in order for your role. So you need to be able to speak conversational about AI for a CEO, and then further down the stack, how close to the expertise you are. Until you're the professor, right? You're the PhD. But everybody needs to know data and AI and need to be educated. So then we have an adult learning trend, which is massive.
Yeah. And then
cool. Yeah. Continue. So I think this will continue to increase the actual understanding in a broad sense, and all the work that AI Sweden and the Swedish AI agenda and so forth are doing is really making this happen, and I think will happen in 2021. Okay, so let's go a bit more techy then.
Yeah.
And I think something that few people do understand is they don't really understand the extreme progress that AI has made in just recent years. They still think AI or machine learning is what it was in the 80s or something. And that's certainly not the case. So, something that is happening now a lot in recent years and will continue to happen is, you can use AI to structure unstructured data. Or what I mean with that is unstructured data is like text or videos or audio. And normally it's super hard to work with that. And that's really what the latest type of AI techniques enables. So you can even work with this kind of unstructured data and make awesome predictions. So text I think is the best example. Just, since the transformer came in 2017 and then, with the BERT in 2018, it has been an explosion of products.
So transformer technology really took off in 18? Or the way of thinking?
Starting from 17 and then afterwards, yes.
We didn't use it before then, really.
No, it didn't
exist. So someone figured it out.
Yeah, so Google published the paper. And I guess Google did use it partly, but just for research purposes before. But they didn't even put it in production in Google Translate, I think, until 2000.
Yeah, so for 80% of the population not knowing what transformers are, you're okay. But now you need to pay attention.
Yes. Attention is all you need. No, but this has truly made it possible to understand text by the semantics, the meaning. Instead of counting word frequencies, which is like a common way before, you can actually start to mean what text means from a more semantical point of view. And this has really never been possible before. So just in recent years, it's been possible and it's available. And just what happened, for example, this year, it was a new model coming up called MT5. So it's a multilingual T5. And it's another type of transformer. It came like a month ago. And it enables you to use text for 100 languages at once with state-of-the-art performance. It's awesome. And what that model can do is not only this kind of normal text classification or question answering or text similarity, but also generate text like GPT-3. But this one, is proper model that you can take. You can train it on your own data and make it work for your own use case and fine tune it for your own task. You can't do that with GPT-3. So stop thinking about GPT-3 or people that think you can use it. Start looking at T5 and MT5, and then we can have a Swedish example of something that can both, use state-of-the-art performance for NLP, both when it comes to classification, regression, and also generation of text, which is awesome. It's just Another key trend when it comes to tech is that a common complaint for especially deep learning is that you need so much data, they claim. But what we've seen in recent years is it's an extreme focus with minimizing the need for annotated data. So that means that you don't need to have like millions, you don't need to have 10,000, you don't even need to have 1,000 perhaps even examples for being able to predict something. You can have a very, very small amount of annotated data points and still work, and it works surprisingly well. So this kind of self-supervised learning doesn't really require annotations, and the whole field of unsupervised learning.
Unsupervised learning is actually, if you ask Carl Tomé, he would say unsupervised learning as one of the key trends.
Yeah, or ask Jan LeCun, one of the pioneers of deep learning and head of AI at Facebook. he basically says self-supervised learning is
that
the
is what
solution
actually
to-
Carl Thomas said. Self-supervised.
Self-supervised. That's what I meant. Sorry.
So many things that happen there, and something that we spend a lot of time with, and I personally do as well, is like active learning techniques. Basically saying, how can you just make the system say you need to annotate this one? Then, if you just annotate the minimal amount you need, then basically any company can start using these techniques without having these super expensive ways of annotating data.
Because I think that's the problem, right? We have to prepare data so well before we get to this stage.
Yes, but it's happening so much in research, and this enables anyone, and especially in 2021, to start using, for example, NLP techniques without having a lot of annotated data. And these kind of multilingual models, for example, you can train it in English and use it in Swedish. It's like insane, without having any Swedish annotated data at all. It's like amazing. So a lot of things that happen there. And perhaps just two final points, not as technical, but I think, when it comes to application of AI, it's really, when you can find examples when the human gets augmented with AI, where you find the best positive effects.
Yeah, this is a trend. We are shifting from artificial intelligence to latching onto H&M's augmented intelligence.
I think called it amplifying, but it does. Yeah, it's the same kind
amplified. Okay.
Yeah,
that's right. That's true.
Anyway, if you take some examples, it can be radiologists. They want to segment or build a treatment plan for a cancer patient. You don't use AI for the whole thing. The only thing that you use AI for is to process the part of that process that requires a lot of data. So if you want to build a treatment plan, you need to go through like hundreds of CAT scan images, for example. That's a process that is really hard for a human to do. Human can't go through a lot of data quickly and efficiently, but an AI system can do that. And it can do that better or equally well as a human expert. So let the AI do what it's good at, processing data. Let humans do what they are good at, which is the reasoning, the background knowledge that they have, which can put things in a context that an AI system is not even close to be able to do today. Yeah. So by combining the two, you can make nurses do super complicated things, and make all the processes in the health sector, for example, so much more efficient.
But are you finished? Because yes. I think this is something that I'm proud of with this pod. Mm-hmm. When we start demystifying these things, AI, instead of being something very fluffy up in the air where you can talk broad stroke and not really do anything about, and you can talk about ethics and it's scary and you can't really do anything about, simply by combining these different contexts, but then also talking with real experts, and you demystify, it's really all about this. We're going to augment or amplify the radiologist by simply looking hardcore in the really data-driven tasks that probably you are not so fond of doing anyway. Mm. And then I think everything starts to make a hell of a lot of sense. And truly, of course, you can find use case applications for AI in almost every single process when you have the right goggles on.